Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of the Motor City Metrics here at TigersMLReport.com. I'm Rogelio Castillo. Alongside me is Uper, and we're not doing any live show this evening. This is a pre-recorded show. This is the first time, so we're doing it old school style, the way Chris and I used to do them, but we didn't have video. We actually just we did it all audio at one point. It's strange to think that it was all audio cued.
Way back in the dark ages.
Yeah. So thanks to StreamYard, StreamYard has made things a lot easier. But no recorded live show tonight because the Lions are playing the Chiefs. And right now, as time recording, the Chiefs are up 14-7 heading into the half. And the Tigers right now are up 10-3 in the going into the top of the ninth right now, as Spencer Torkelson has gone off. He had another 2 home run game. He hit his first one, a 2-run shot off Carlos Rodon in the first, and then one off Vasquez in the fourth, another 2-run shot. And then Ibanez also hit a home run in the 8th inning with one on. So Matt Verling with 4 for 5 and 2 RBIs. He slid on his shoulder, so it looks like, but he stayed in the game. And Kerry Carpenter with a pair of hits, 2 for 4 on the day. And Andre Lipsius, 2 for 4, playing third. So overall, the Tiger bats, as they complete the series, they come home to take on the White Sox starting tomorrow. We'll talk about that series in a little bit. But football. Look, we know our audience enough to know. No, there was no way. There was no point of having a live show tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Especially opening day for football. I mean, the football fans have been champing at the bit for weeks and weeks over this game. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, this is a season for Lions fans where there's a lot of expectations. Dan Campbell, I think, is showing more balls than Scott Harris. So you can debate that. That's a good debate to bring up. But no, it's a thing where the Lions this year have potential to win. And I've when it comes to being a Lions fan, growing up in this area, I'm kind of a jaded one. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. And,
well, they're in their eighth decade since their last championship. People are excited. Can't blame them. They ended after their bad start last year. They came on strong, and this is the year they need to, really prove it. That the end of last year wasn't just some nice run. It was something that had some teeth. And I think they got a good team. I think they got a shot to win that division. Should be good.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers right now, they're trying to see if Jordan Love's going to be the guy, if you will. I mean, Aaron Rodgers now went to New York, which the distraction's over for Green Bay fans, and so it'll be an interesting season for the Packers. Is for people that don't know, Uper's a big Packer fan, so and if anybody gives him crap because he's in the UP, you try driving the Pontiac 8 hours to go watch a game.
Exactly right. It was 10 hours from where I grew up, but yeah,
10 hours really.
Yeah. But anyway, it was only 4 hours to Green Bay, so
there you go.
It was much easier. But the Green Bay is going a little different route this year. They have the youngest roster in the NFL, so they still have a lot of good players. I still think they can win some ball games, but at the same time, when you have the youngest roster in NFL, sometimes you pay for that a little bit with young mistakes. So we'll just kind of see how the year goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's going to be an interesting division, too. Justin Fields in Chicago, and you have Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. And Minnesota has a pretty good defense, too. So, it's like I said, it's always going to be the division. That's one thing about this division I like. It's always going to be – it's always a fascinating watch. But, yeah. So, normally, like I said, we would normally do it if it wasn't a Thursday night like football. We've done it against Thursday night football, no problem. But it's the Lions. So,
yeah.
But – so right now, like I was mentioning earlier, the Tigers are trying to finish up a 4-game series in New York. It was kind of been a rough week for the Tigers. Matt Manning missed the remainder of the season as he took a line drive to the foot, and then they called up Trey Winghander and put Manning on. Yeah, the comebacker, by the way, was 119 miles an hour.
Oof. Nasty.
And it's been a big week for Jace Young. He's hit 5 home runs in the span of 3 days. And Erie did something that hasn't been done since Ryan Kreidler, Spencer Torkelson, and I believe, I'm trying to think of the other name that did this, but
Riley Green, I think.
Riley Green hit 3 home runs in a row tonight, but he had 2 home runs yesterday. Both were mammoth shots. One to straight center, one to right, and the night before was the same thing. He just continues to put himself in a different atmosphere as far as home runs are concerned, and he's among the top 10 most home runs by a minor leaguer in Tigers history. So Chris and I did the research. Chris came from beyond his. He had some free time today, and he actually assisted me with this. But yeah, by the way, the back-to-back, the trio of home runs was Ben Malgeri, Luis Santana, and Young. And there's also some bad news that come out of West Michigan too, as Troy Melton exited the game with an injury in the 5th, and so that's not good. And West Michigan tries to clinch a playoff spot right now. Lakeland's also 2.5 has a 2-game. They won tonight, and they're inching closer to a playoff spot. They beat Tampa, the Yankees affiliate, 9-8. And yeah, so here's where Young is in terms of like company wise. So you were talking about some names earlier, and it was a sad list to bring up because majority of these guys. So here's a couple of names for you, Uber. You tell me if you've heard of them. You remember Danny Dorn?
Danny Dorn. I want to say went to University of Pittsburgh. I could be wrong about that.
All right, let's see here. Let's see how right you are about this. Danny
Middle
Dorn.
infielder?
Let's see. There was a first baseman.
Oh, okay.
There's a first baseman. You said what university?
Pittsburgh?
Oh, he went to Cal State.
Oh, that's close.
But he looks like he was a guy who was like a minor leaguer, like a minor league free agent guy, because he was
obviously didn't make a big enough impression. I took a shot.
So yeah, Danny Dorn was it's so weird. He only played 2 years. Okay, so he played in Toledo for 2 seasons at 27-28. So he was a minor league free agent at that point. So
okay.
But the rest of the list is kind of like Christian Stewart, there's John Lester, there's Quincy Naporti, who's coming back, Mike Hessman, all-time minor league leader in home runs.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of major leaguers on there. A guy by the name of Alejandro Freire, I have no idea who the hell that is. It was in 2000. Yeah, no idea. Dane Myers got a cup of coffee with the Marlins. So, I want to pose a question to you, Uper. Now, before we get to our segments and what have you, is this the power numbers you've seen this year from the minor leagues? Do you think there's a different vibe to it than some of these cast-off numbers or cast-off players that I mentioned?
Exactly. I was going to say, I'd love to go, if we did an in-depth analysis of all those other guys, were they older? Were they on their second go-round of the level? Or even more? Like Hessman, who knows how many times he repeated AAA, right? I mean, so, Jace Young is his first crack at AA, and we're seeing what he's doing here. He's an ascending player coming out of college. Same with Colt Keith. I mean, these are all new levels that he's just seeing for the first time, and seeing the production and the power is fantastic. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see. I mean, I just think back to last year. A lot of people were, I want not to say down on the draft pick, but I don't think anybody was over the moon over Jace Young, right? I think people were just like, that's a competent pick. And then he had kind of a so-so showing at West Michigan, right? He didn't wow anybody. And you've seen him enough. I don't know how many times you've seen him this year, but what has he surprised you with? If anything?
Young, I think it's pitch selection. I think it has a lot to do with, I think he's recognizing pitches better, and he has been more aggressive in the counts. But I really think it's like he's hitting mistakes. Like he wasn't doing that last year. He's definitely taking, like, in terms of his splits, is actually better in AA than they are in high A. So I really think that to me is a good sign.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that everything's hit hard. It's like it's a lot of hard contact. It was significantly improvement from last year. He's barreling it up nicely. So I think it's his ability to recognize pitches in any account. And he's been able to, you can't just throw a mistake by him anymore.
Nice. And the last report I had, and this is a little while ago, but that he was playing an acceptable second base. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, I think he plays the second base.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I don't understand why people are saying his defense is going to be it lacks. I was talking to somebody about this today about his arm. Yeah, his arm is, but it's adequate for the position.
Yeah.
Can he go play the outfield? No, but he's worked on his defense. He really gets irritated about when people mention his defense as, but I think he's going to be serviceable. He makes the play. He has the range. He's not going to hinder you. He's not Winfield Perez where he's just it's like a mental thing with him and
sure
all that. But no, I think he's fine. I mean,
well, I like hearing that he gets mad about it because that kind of tells you he'll probably work his ass off at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Trey Wingenter is into close tonight with a 7-run cushion.
Jeez, old Pete's. Well, I mean, at least they're resting their good arms in the bullpen, if you will.
Yes.
But
I tweeted today. I was Trey Wingenter and Tyler Nevin are in a neck and neck race for causing all Tiger fans to say, "Him again?" when he gets called up. They have no one better than him. I think that it's a very close race between those two guys.
Yeah, at some point you have to go, well, what about somebody else? But they have who they have. It's the season's ending in a couple weeks. At this point, I think the Tigers just want to get to the finish line without obtaining not too many more injuries. Really, I think that's really what it is if you boil down to it. And right now, it's just really the last couple weeks all about Miguel Cabrera and just celebrating that. And I think it's kind of weird to see. It's kind of, I don't want to say this is a sign because I hate seeing that kind of stuff. It's kind of cliche, but you look at tonight with Spencer Torkelson kind of having the mantle of the power bat, if you will. And again, there's still strange how people still complain about Spencer Torkelson. Again, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's hitting home runs. I don't know what else you want.
Mm-hmm. And he's looking comfortable doing it, right? He looks confident now. He doesn't have that. I don't want to say he looked lost at times. He didn't look like he was walking in, and it's hard to read body language, but that he just didn't have that certainty that he was going to get his pitch and drive it. And now he walks in, man, he just looks the part. And that's unscientific as hell to say, but he passes the eyeball test right now.
Yeah, he does. He's getting it done, Uper, and that's all that matters right now. Especially when you're going into the 2024 season with uncertainty, it was kind of really still had some questions on what to do with the outfield. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question because this is something that I was actually talking to Mark about this earlier today. So you have all this money coming out the books, right?
Yep.
And you have a glutton of left-handed hitters right now, right?
Yes.
How does Tyler O'Neill look to you in right field?
Plus defensively, right?
Plus defensively. His speed was pretty good last year too, but he's been injured a little bit, to be fair. Sneaky power.
I think and I'm assuming then Riley Green's playing left.
Correct.
Carpenter's your DH.
Correct. And then you have Meadows in center.
Right. Yeah. I would have to think the pitchers would really enjoy playing in front of that outfield. It would balance the lineup a little bit. O'Neill shouldn't cost it. He can't make a whole lot of money, right? I mean, if Illich is worried about that, yeah, I could see that being a potential play. But it's going to be interesting, I'm also interested. I just wonder, are they going to dabble in the Asian market at all? Because there seems to be a few pretty good hitters coming over this year and a couple arms, and they're going to need both. So, but I think the easiest, since they never do that, and they haven't, swinging a deal for O'Neill, I could see it.
Because he's not coming back to St. Louis. Let's face it. He's not coming back to St. Louis. And I think the Tigers are going to have to be creative in who they bring in. They already have somebody, probably have a list of people they have in mind that can control the strike zone that
Mm-hmm.
fit Harris's philosophy. And right now, obviously, it's September 7th. We're talking way too early about this, but the reason why I was bringing this up is because you've seen this tonight with Torkelson, and he's got the power. He's the right-handed bat, but you need something else with the counterbalance that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, Carpenter, you could, is that going to be a DH platoon situation? No, I think Carpenter could be the full-time DH.
Yeah.
But also, Carpenter's not been bad in right field either.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have of where you're going to play these guys. I'm one of the last guys who's going to get on that train of making Carpenter a full-time DH. I don't have a big problem with him in right field.
I don't either.
Especially if they can find a veteran hitter to be the DH who, is a step above what, some of the other guys on hand. It's all about lengthening that lineup, and I don't really care how they do it. It'd be great if they have a top-notch defense all around the outfield, but if you have Meadows in center and Green in left, they should be able to protect Carpenter a little bit. And as you said, he's not awful out there, despite what what people said at the beginning.
There was a play he made a couple weeks ago. I think it was against Minnesota, where he played it off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
He gunned down somebody at second base.
Yeah, he's got the arm.
Yeah, he's got an arm, and even the way he played that in Minnesota, you could tell he worked out there and was able to figure out exactly how the bounces went off that right field wall, and he's done that at Comerica Park too. So I think he's prided himself on working his defense more. It's a step up from what we were seeing originally. So,
well, and the thing about it is, even if he is the DH, I'm sure he'll still play some outfield. I mean, there's days, Meadows needs a day off, or there's a tough lefty. They'll swing, Riley Green to center field and put Carpenter in right and someone else in left and make it work. I mean, there are ways around that where he's not a full-time DH, maybe 70% of the time or something.
Yeah, and that'll work. I mean, I do like your idea of bringing in a veteran bat to kind of complement that. But again, I think they are also going to have to do some trading, which this is where the Scott Harris have the cojones that like Dan Campbell does to make a trade. And I think he does. I think there's one thing about this front office. They're not afraid to rock the boat. I mean, they've gotten rid of players that have been in the system for a long time. They're going to continue. Harris is still going to make his imprint on his roster.
Yeah. Well, you have to. I mean, they can't be status quo. They're a team with, despite all the things we might be a little optimistic about, I checked today, they're still at a minus 116 run differential. You can't stay the same. You got to rock the boat a little bit. You have to make some moves. The first year they didn't do a ton. I still think they should have, but they didn't. And, if you want to make the argument, he wanted a year to assess what he had and move slowly at first. And okay, I get it. But now you have Torkelson is semi-established. When Riley Green is on the field, you know what you have there. You got a pretty darn good player. Carpenter has come on as a player. You can't go status quo and flatline around them. You have to add to that lineup, lengthen that lineup, put a major league presentable offense out there. And you're in a division you can win, even though the goal is to win the World Series, but you're in a division you can win. You can't imagine they'll sit on their hands this winter. I'd be stunned.
I would be if they do. It's an outright embarrassment. Then, by the way, it just gone final in the Bronx. Tigers win 10-3. Eduardo Rodriguez improves 11-7 on the year, and the Tigers will come home, play a 4-game series against the White Sox beginning on Friday. So, should be interesting. They got the the Irish Heritage Night is tomorrow night, Friday night. So, and then they have the trucker hat on Saturday. I've never been a big fan of trucker hats. Me
neither.
I'm glad that somebody else thinks that too.
Yeah.
All right, let's go inside the numbers. All right, Uper, what is your inside number today?
Inside the number, I'm going to the American League East for two guys. I would say, over the last 3 years, if you ask who's the best first baseman in the AL East, you would automatically say Vlad Guerrero Jr., and you still might say that. But, boy, this year, numbers. He's at 21 homers. He's got a .779 OPS. Nothing embarrassing about those numbers, but those are nothing that we talked about Vlad Guerrero producing a few years ago. I mean, everybody expected superstar stats year in, year out, and it's just not happening. And a comparison to make is with the Red Sox. Tristan Casas, right? Got off to a really slow start. He was hitting a $140 in April and into May. It was a lot of harping going on in Boston about getting him out of the lineup and sending him back to the minors. Well, he's gone on a hitting crusade here throughout the summer. He's up at 23 homers, and I didn't know this until tonight. I knew it was good, but he is showcasing an 868 OPS.
Wow.
He's fully 90 points in front of Vlad. So I don't know what Vlad Guerrero is hitting a lot of ground balls. Which obviously they need to work on something to get him elevating more. But his power numbers are down, and it's shocking. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard, but they're not leaving the ballpark. And I don't know if that's a park factor or, I just don't know. But it's really been disappointing to see, because I really thought he was going to be the guy who took the mantle as the next big slugger in Major League Baseball. And now a guy like Tristan Casas is going homer for homer with him and outslugging him.
And Tristan Casas, I think, I think to a certain extent, is he a household name to you? Because I don't, in terms of Boston, because Boston, is he becoming a household name, or is he still kind of?
Well, it's his first full season. He was a number 1 draft pick, like I think 20th overall or something like that. He was. I knew a lot about. I followed him a lot when he was with Team USA and the 18U and so on. He was he was just a line drive machine as a youth hitter. And now the power, he's starting to leave the ballpark. I think he's only 22, maybe. So I think he has a lot of growth potential left, a lot of ceiling.
Yeah, he's a really kind of lanky. He kind of looks lanky to me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So my inside number this week is 17, and that is the swings and misses from Luis Castillo in the start tonight as Seattle beat Tampa 1-0. That's an impressive start for Luis Castillo, considering that coming into his last 5 starts, he had an ERA of just above 4. He got beat up in a couple of his start against the Angels back in the beginning of August is where it's kind of been a blimp in the radar. But other than that, he's been consistent. I mean, he's been one of the best pitchers for the Mariners this season, and one of the best pitchers in all of the American League West right now. And they need him to step it up, and he did against one of the best offense in the American League. So I thought that was worth mentioning, that to get Tampa to get 17 swings and misses.
I think he had a perfect game for a while there. I saw a perfect game alert come up. I didn't see what inning it was in, though. So obviously he was shoving.
And by the way, per Evan Woodbury, Erod's 11 wins, more than any Tigers pitcher since Justin Verlander's 16 in 2016.
Wow.
So
he should get maybe 4 more starts, right? So
yeah,
he could win 12, 13 games here.
Yeah. That would be nice. I mean, look, for whether he leaves or whatever decides to go, it's I know people take our fans like, what are you doing? Oh yeah. Again, he could stay, but then again, I don't know. I'm not gonna be a cynical jerk about it because it's too easy.
There's no predicting it right now, because he's had such a mercurial couple of years in Detroit, right? He left the team for a while, and then this year he turned down a trade to a contender, which you don't see very often. He talked about loving it in Detroit, but then again, it sounds like he would have taken the right offer from the Dodgers. So it's all over the map, right? What he's going to do. Do the Tigers want to add to his deal and keep him? I'm sure they're at least having discussions, whether it's with his agent or just internally among Harris's minions there. So I don't know. I at first I was like, yeah, I think you move on. But at the same time, his contract is pretty reasonable. If he opts into it, I think you could augment it a little bit to make him happy, but it would still be a pretty fair deal.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that here in Detroit, he has the potential to kind of continue to elevate his game and be. And the Tigers should think about considering extending him because you look at the injuries right now to Manning. There's no sure things with Mize either.
Yep.
He had to shut it down. He wasn't feeling it, and it's been a rough road for him. And then Derek Skubal, same thing. He's had injury history. So you get as much pitching as you can. And there's no guarantees about what they have in Flores or Ty Madden or anybody else they have right now in the system that's going to come up and be a bona fide number one starter, which I don't see that right as of right now. I mean, Jackson Jobe still allows too many home runs, if I'm giving me nitpicky, but you have to see what else he does in AA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ways to go.
Yeah, ways to go. All right, now it's time for the good and the bad and the ugly. I have an idea for this one, this segment. You say you're good, I'll say my good, and we'll just go back and forth.
Back and forth.
Sounds good. So, all right, what's your good?
Well, my good is we talked about it a little bit already, but I'm going to stick with it. Multi-homer games has been the good. They what we're talking about this week. Jace Young with 2 in a row with another tonight. Really cool to see. The Tigers, with the way their offense has been at the big league level for the last several years, it's been so woeful. They just need as many options to pick from going forward as possible. So that's why it's been so good to see Malloy and Keith and Wenzel Perez and now Jace Young just looking like they're going to have at least chances to be quality major league hitters because the Tigers need more bats and they need them from anywhere they can get them. And then Torkelson tonight with the 2 home runs. I didn't realize, I knew that he had 4, but actually this was the 5th multi-homer game this year for Spencer Torkelson with a month to go. So no reason why he might not add another one here before we're done. So the growth and maturation in his game has been so gratifying to watch through the summer. Probably the biggest development on the team. If it's not him, then it's Carpenter, right? Last offseason, we talked about, at least I did, since the offseason was rather inactive, 2023 was about Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson establishing themselves as quality major league ball players. They still have a ways to go. Green is more about injury and staying healthy. Torkelson still probably, needs to prove it over a longer stretch of time. But the multi-homer games are explosive moments that win ball games. And he's shown that 5 times this year, which has been pretty good.
Yeah. And that's where it's you take for all the highs and lows this season too. And Jerry did a really good article about talking about the hard hit contact that's been rewarded. You forget the beginning of the season what exactly occurred with the going back and forth with the numbers. And yeah, it's I don't know. I'm looking forward to what he can do next season with all like a little bit of the weight lifted off him a little bit. So
yeah.
So my good this week is involving the Astros. I know, boo, the Astros, but they set a major league record against the Rangers. It was something to. They kicked off the series with 13 runs and a comeback victory. By the series end against the Rangers, they tallied 50 hits, 16 home runs, both MLB records for a 3-game series. They scored 12 plus runs and hit 5 plus homers in each of the 3 games versus the Rangers, which has never been ever done before, according to Opta Stats. So this was supposed to be a matchup of 2 contenders in the West, and Houston was like, nah, you're the John Beckett Texas Rangers of the past.
Yeah.
It's business as usual, as the Houston Astros Twitter account. But I mean, Jose Altuve, I think there was one of the announcers just like, come on, really? It's Houston's peaking at the right time right now.
No question about it. Yeah, if their starting pitching holds up behind Verlander, they're going to be a really tough out in the playoffs.
And Alex Berman is continuous a hot stick too.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's a standout right there. What is your bad this week?
Well, the bad this week got a little bit better tonight. The Tigers tonight got their 7th victory of the season versus the AL East. With the 2 losses in New York and tonight's win, they wrap up the season versus the East with a 7-25 record. Not good. Now, they've had years in the past where the team stunk and they got crushed in their own division by like the Indians and the Twins, and they actually were competitive against the East, even though they were a bad team. This year, it was the exact opposite. They did so good in their division, and they need one win against the White Sox to have a winning record against everybody in the AL Central. But this year, they just were outclassed and outmatched consistently when they took the field against the AL East. Again, 7-25. A big reason why the record is what it is.
Yeah, you understand how competitive that division is. You just talked about Toronto earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, we didn't even get in Baltimore. It's the first time we ever mentioned Baltimore in a podcast. Yeah. That's a tough division as a whole, but 7-20, come on. I mean,
yeah. Even if they've gone, 12 and even 11 and 4. I don't know what you say, but if they had won 15 out of the 32, 15 and 17, how much better would their record look?
Wow. They would be probably within division, striking distance division.
Sure.
So my bad is Anthony Rendon, who has been, he has had a year. I mean, everybody is calling him out for being a prima donna asshole. He's been an asshole. I can't really sugarcoat any other way like that. He's been one of the worst contracts ever. And he got into it with a fan earlier this year, saying that he called him out and it was the wrong fan. The guy was a total jackass. But there's one man that sums it up best. It would be Chris Rose. And he said this during the Baseball Today show on John Boy Media. And Chris Rose has been around for a while. And I actually like Chris Rose. He's not bad. Yep. He did a show on Fox Sports, show like a long time ago that I really liked. But here's his comments on Anthony Rendon.
According to Sam Blum, who covers the Halos, reporters stopped to ask Anthony Rendon in the clubhouse about his injury, possible timetable for a return. They haven't gotten a lot of answers recently. The third baseman said, "No habla inglés" today, and left the clubhouse. Your thoughts?
I don't really know how to answer this question, C. Rosie.
Oh, I do. Then let me go.
Okay, I know. Hold on. I know what you're going to do. You want to just go? Okay.
Yeah, fuck it. I've had enough of his act. He's tired. He is so tired. For years, all I heard, this is what I heard from guys who played with him. I was like, what's the deal with Rendon? They're like, listen, dude, he can mash. Like, he is as good bat to ball dude as I've ever played with. Unbelievable player. I was like, does he like it? They're like, nah, he doesn't. He's good at baseball, so that's why he plays. The whole act is so tired. It's been tired forever. It was tired in Washington. It's tired now. I get it. It's not fun being injured. Like, you want to be out there. I think he does, at least. I'm not so sure about that anymore. But you know what? Be a fucking professional. We hear it all the time from management and from managers. Hey, he's a professional ball player. This is not professional. Somebody has got to stand up to, and here's a lack of leadership. And I don't know whose job it is to get to sit his ass down. Really, it's his job because he's over 30 and he's been in this game for a long time. But somebody should sit him down and be like, listen, bro, when somebody asks you a question, you can be frustrated. You could be upset. You might not even like the question, but don't act like some immature little kid. I've had enough of it. It really is a tired act, and I have to imagine that there's guys in the clubhouse that are rolling their eyes. Like, they're going out to bust their ass every day after a horseshit season and everything that they've been through, and no habla inglés today. Well, by the way, you do speak English because you said the word today.
That was the best part about that. Is he absolutely right? It's like something you would never overthink. And no habla inglés today. What an asshole. What a dick. But it is, and then you saw earlier on Twitter that for the Angels team picture, somebody was standing there that wasn't Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
What the hell? What was that about?
Put a body double in. They're gonna paste his name in later, or his face. It's wild. It's just a messed up organization. They got a hothead manager. Seems like they're always changing directions of how they want to build a team. Just bizarre.
Yeah, Adi Moreno's like, hey guys, I'm gonna put everybody on waiver wire because I don't want to pay him. Or however that works.
If you're a lifelong Angel fan out there, it's got to be tough.
If you're a lifelong Angel fan, you deserve a medal because I mean, seriously, like it's.
Yeah.
You almost forget that they won a World Series.
They got one. Yep, they did.
I mean, that was all for Gene Autry, the original one of the founding owners of the Angels, who was considered by many a much beloved man in Anaheim. I don't know what the hell Artie Moreno is rich beyond anything, and he's just treating the team like garbage.
Yeah.
Are you the GM or are you the owner? Make up your damn mind. And then, you hear about how they got one of the beat reporters because he was too negative, and they got him out of there. Like some of the stuff like that. Ridiculous. All right. And what is your ugly this week? I think we might have the same ugly, but go ahead.
Mine for me is Matt Manning.
Okay.
It's just so unfortunate. How many times I've never seen it, and I've been watching this game a long time, and I'm sure I might be forgetting someone, but the same pitcher breaking the same foot on comebackers in the same season and going on the IL twice in 1 year. What are the odds of that? I mean, the first time around when he got hit by Alejandro Kirk in Toronto, that one didn't look that bad to me. I was hopeful he'd get back much quicker, but he broke the bone, and what are you going to do? But that one didn't look as serious. This one, it was no big shock. I mean, it was like you said before, it was 119 miles per hour. It caught him and bounced straight up by his hip, so he pretty much took the full shot on his foot. And you could see by the look on his face moments after he flipped it to first base, he was hurting. Really a shame because despite, the strikeout numbers not being what a lot of stat people want to see, he had the results cooking this year. He was looking very good, very competitive. He was keeping the ball in the yard to an extent. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think he allowed 11 home runs, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he allowed a few homers, but really, though, the results were very solid, and I thought he looked as good as we've seen him pitch. But facts are, whether you want to call this fluky or not, getting hit by comebackers, he's been in the big leagues 3 years, and he has averaged 14 2/3 starts per season. So he just has not been able to take the ball and give them 26, 28, 30 starts in the season. Hopefully next year that'll be the case. But right now, the first 3 seasons, we've seen some good from Matt Manning. We just haven't seen enough of Matt Manning.
He's coming off a very good run of streaks here, or starts here, Uber.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. It's a freak thing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. Same. Just come on. I mean, did he see a black cat or something? Like it just sounds like seriously. It just sounds like something voodoo. Like it just doesn't jive. But so my ugly to end the week is the whole situation right now with Julio Urias, who allegedly pushed a woman into a fence enough to where he's on administrative leave enough to where the Dodgers are actually pulling his bobblehead night, which is I think coming up next week or the week after.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, by the way, just a quick update from the game after the game here. According to Chris McCoskey of the Detroit News, just a bone bruise for Zach Short. No IR expected. Lots of swelling on Matt Verling's elbow, and he expects him. He won't be there on Friday, but expects him to be available off the bench.
He got hit he got hit on a pickoff throw and nailed him. And it hit him hard enough. It bounced off him and went into.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I think I saw the highlight of it. It looked like it bounced, and that's ugh. But so Urias was booked in the jail 1 a.m. Monday morning, Pacific time, and he posted $50,000 bail and was released. But yeah, last time he pitched was on September 1st. So,
and this is the second offense for him, right?
I believe it is the second offense. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if California still has a 3-strike rule or however that works. But yeah, nevertheless, it's kind of that whole situation for the Dodgers. It's just another pitcher, another domestic violence.
Brutal.
I think of Trevor Bauer and all that, but yeah, it's brutal time for the Dodgers as they're trying to get into. I mean, right now they own the best record in all. I think they're tied with the Braves last I checked for that best record in the NL, but still, right now also the Lions have tied the game. It's 14-all, and halfway through with 8 minutes left to go in the third quarter.
Okay.
But if you're watching us now post show, you already know who won the game. So why am I just telling you that? I don't know. Like, I'm so used to us doing live, so maybe that's what it is.
Love it. Hey, I was going with it. You were doing it. Hey, that's good.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, hey, might as well. We can't get rusty with this. So I have to do the live show. But but as far as again the pitching matchups for this weekend, there's not a starter announced for Sunday, by the way. So tomorrow will be Reese Olson against Mike Clevenger. Saturday, Skubal versus to be announced, and then Sunday starter for the White Sox will be a guy by the name of Jesse Schultens.
Don't know.
Yeah, 74 innings.
So they're not coming back with Kopech.
No, I think, are they shutting down Kopech for the year?
I don't know. He looked terrible, I'll tell you, last Sunday when the Tigers drove him off the mound in the third inning. He had already walked 5 or 6 guys. I mean, he could not throw a fastball for a strike. He was throwing a little get-me-over slider. That was the only thing that was even threatening the strike zone. The fastball just looked like he had the yips. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah, and his fastball usually has some really good tail action. That's one of his best pitches. And that was a really good pitch for him last year. So, I don't know. He maybe just be fatigued. I don't know what the case is. But as we look at the standings real quick before we get out of here, Minnesota, the Cleveland had a good chance with the waiver pickups. You think they would kind of perhaps make a run, and they kind of crapped the bet against the Twins. Mm-hmm. So now they're 6 back as the Twins are now pretty much control of the AL Central. The Seattle's a half game back of Houston. And you know what's interesting? There was a great stat that I saw earlier tonight about the Mariners too. And it was, I think since July 1st, since the All-Star break, they're 41-19 for the last 60 games since July 1st, the best record in MLB during that span. And they're still half a game back at Houston.
Oof.
That is brutal.
It really
is. That's how tough baseball is, ladies and gentlemen. Houston. I mean, I think if there's one thing I want to really pay attention to in the next couple of weeks, Super, is that division. I mean, like, let's not kid ourselves here. As much as Texas is, has the names, what have you, it really down to Houston, Seattle. I don't think Texas is legit.
I would agree. Yeah, I would go down that road with you. Absolutely. Seattle, I like the starting pitching. I really do. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez in that lineup. I think they're a legit team. I think they can do some damage once they get in.
Yeah, and Munoz, the bullpen too, has been really. I mean, the guy's been really good. They have some. Their bullpen is one of the best in the American League, and so I think that's going to help them. And if they can get some more consistency from their starters, I think they'll bode well. Baltimore right now is up 4 on Tampa Bay, and then we go to the NL East, and I mean, Philly's playing out of their mind, but it doesn't matter because Atlanta at 91.40 has a best run differential at 233. Holy Nikes.
It's unbelievable. I mean, they were at 250 home runs last week, and they set their team record with a month to go.
And you know what's even stranger is the Dodgers, who have the second best offensive run score. They scored 779. Atlanta's at 809. It's crazy. But Philly's making it interesting though. They're in the wild card. They got the wild card. Milwaukee and the Cubs right now in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's falling back a little bit. They're still getting some good play from their young guys, but I don't want to say they're fading a little bit, but they're now 5.5 back of Milwaukee. The Cubs are 2 back. And then in the NL West, it's just the Dodgers and everybody else. And San Diego's been fading back.
Where's the wild card there?
The wild card? So let me give you a wild card update here. So the wild card looks like this in the American League right now as Tampa, Seattle, and Toronto are your 3 teams in the American League, with Texas a half a game back and Boston somehow hanging out there at 5 back. But let's be realistic here about that.
Yeah.
And then in the NL, Philadelphia, Cubs, and Arizona, with the Marlins just a half a game back, the Reds a half a game back, and the Giants are 2.5 back. Miami got some bad news, though. Sandy Alcantara is going to be out for the rest of the year. That's a big blow to them. But they still have some really good depth. I mean, Jake Berger, by the way. Did you see that Jake Berger, I think, has 30 home runs? Is that right?
That's pretty amazing.
Wow. Damn, that must be the sneakiest 30 home runs we've heard in a while, right? I mean,
it could be. He's kind of a little mini Schwarber now.
Yeah, except the funnest debate right now in all baseball is Schwarber's WAR.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know about you, Uper. This is where WAR is a stat that really tells you all about a player, right? I mean, it's become a metric, the modern day metric of Would you say it's a modern day metric of what's good and what's bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice little shorthand number boiled into one number. I love it. You bet.
Yeah. So here's Schwarber's line. He got OPS plus over 123, OPS of 820. So I got 475.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 41 home runs. He's batting 195.
Yeah.
And he's got a WAR of 0.6.
Yeah, that seems a little fly in the ointment there, a little flaw.
Yeah.
Because I'd take him on my team.
Yeah, I would take him on my team too. He leads the league in strikeouts. He leads the National League in strikeouts at 177.
Yeah.
And look like he will more likely strike out for 200 times again. It looks to be that way.
You know, he's just a guy, when you can't always have the perfect player. Sometimes you have a flawed guy who fits your team and your ballpark really well. And they need, he's a power source. I think I saw something. He has more homers than singles right now. I think he'd be the first guy with 40 plus homers to ever do that. So,
you are, let's see here. I believe you are correct. I'm trying to see if in terms of breakdown by hits here. Yeah, I'm trying to find that. They have it listed here. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, he's getting it done in his own way. And this is where, that's one of the stats with WAR. Like, his best WAR season, by the way, was last year at 2.2. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. It was 2019 when he was 2.3 WAR. But
you wouldn't want a lineup full of Kyle Schwarbers, but you can carry one Kyle Schwarber if he's going to hit 40 bombs for you. He might hit 50 this year if he gets hot.
Yeah, he's a classic example of like Greg Lewinsky, who was the bull.
Yeah.
For the Phillies in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, this is a guy who was up there. Imagine him. You imagine imagine Lewinsky being a DH then. I mean, they didn't have the DH in the National League. He was a first baseman.
Right. Well, I think he played left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking.
He came to the Whites. He finished with the White Sox his last couple of years, and he was But even then, they couldn't always DH him because they had Ron Kittle.
Yeah, but didn't Ron Kittle play more catcher though?
Oh, I think eventually they tried him in the outfield, and then
because he was the backup for Carlton Fisk, wasn't he?
He came up as a catcher, but I think they got him out of there relatively fast. Same way like Dale. He came at the same time as Dale Murphy.
Not Ron. I'm sorry. You know what I was thinking of? What was there was a catcher, kind of like a redheaded catcher for the White Sox.
Ron Karkovice?
Yeah, Karkovice. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking Karkovice. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He was a first baseman. Yes, Ron Kittle. Yeah, that's a name. That's another name I've heard in a while. But
Ron Kittle is a guy. I think Jack Morris struck him out 3 times in the no-hitter.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he had he had like these glasses. That's what it was. I remember that and for that. So
yeah, yes.
So on that note, we'll play it by ear. We'll more likely do a show on Monday evening versus Sunday night. So more likely we'll be back on Monday, as we'll also kind of recap the minor leagues. I'm not sure yet. Depending on how it goes Sunday, there will probably be a live show either Monday night or Sunday evening for the minor league stuff. So we might just combine them and put them together, as we'll recap what's going on. Big week for Jace Young. It's been a big week for Lakeland. Lakeland will more than likely, we'll find out by Saturday. It might look like they might clinch their a ticket to the playoff spot. And then if I look real quick at West Michigan, what they're doing tonight, I believe the Whitecaps won earlier. I have to double check, but they are sitting right now. They are just on the cusp of, I believe Fort Wayne is still half a game up, and Great Lakes won tonight. Fort Wayne's a half game up. So, but Great Lakes won tonight 5-4. And yeah, let's just say there's a lot of people pissed off that Brady Allen got called up. Yeah, it was a big blow for him because he's been their best hitter, and
sure,
he's not able to be there for the postseason run. But it was a chance for West Michigan to gain a game tonight too, because Fort Wayne lost against Dayton, so they have another chance tomorrow as they end the season against Great Lakes. And Lakeland tonight, in terms of standing wise, real quick before we get out of here, and you're probably looking at this all in the morning when you're listening to us. Lakeland, let's see here. Lakeland is now 3 games up with 3 games to play. So do the math for me, Uper. They can win the division tomorrow, technically, couldn't they? Or Friday, sure. Right?
With a win or a loss, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bradenton, by the way,
came in by them or lost by the other.
Yeah, Bradenton is 3 games back right now. And so Lakeland has a chance to clinch their division. And again, best run differential in the Florida State League at plus 89. They don't have a lot of pitching, Uper, but that's a fun team to watch. It really is. Like, just it's a blast to watch. So as of recording right now, Bradenton is still playing Fort Myers right now, and it is 2-2 in the bottom of the 4th. So if the Marauders lose tonight, the Lakeland has a chance to, I think they have a chance to even win the division, right?
There you go. Flying Tigers. Fly.
Yeah.
Flags fly forever.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. And we'll be back Monday for sure. And go to tigersmlreport.com. Check out all the great content over there. I'm working on a state of the Detroit Tigers minor league system article. It's like a 4,000 word mecca piece. So it's going to be it's going to do a lot of research. I'm getting some help. Props to, I got to give a shout out to Robert James, Jerry, who's always been a very good supporter, and Chris Brown, who's listening. Miss you, Chris. Hopefully you'll come back soon. It's not the same, but we carry on. And thank you, Uper, for coming on tonight. I appreciate it as always. And we will be back on Monday. Have a good evening, everybody. Or if you're listening, have a good evening, morning, night, whatever.
We'll see you. We'll see you down the road.